Well, hi guys, feels so good to be back with another recipe tutorial. For this tutorial, I'll be guiding you on how to make my red oxtail recipe. Now this one, in terms of flavors, completely ticks all the boxes. Anyone who's never tried oxtail might want to try this amazing ingredient. Honestly, this is 100% one of my favorite dishes. And here are your recipe ingredients. To make this recipe, you're going to need oxtail, potatoes, garlic, ginger, thyme, mixed spice, salt and pepper. Chilies are optional, watercress is optional, and also red cabbage, which I will be using for this recipe, is optional. Oh, one more thing, key ingredient, plantain, or if you're West Indian, plantain? Is that how you say it? plantain. I'm not so sure how to say it properly. You say how you want to say it, okay? So here we go. You want to mix all those ingredients and add some oil just to infuse everything together and make a nice little jus at the bottom. Mix it and then you want to leave it to marinate for about 5 to 10 hours. So here's one controversial thing I've discovered about making recipes and cooking and infusing flavor. As long as you have your seasoning perfectly done well, you pretty much will not need to marinate your meat overnight. It's gonna taste regardless if you have everything down to a fine science. Right, so I left the garlic in the pan until it's nice and brown. Then I added thyme and also chili flakes. And then now I'm gonna add my oxtail. Essentially, the goal is to pan fry the oxtail until it's nice and brown, and then you want to add your jus that I had at the bottom of the pan. Excuse my French, I meant marinade that you had at the bottom of your bowl. So, while I'm browning my oxtail, I'm going to give you a bit of backstory as far as how oxtail came about to be such a rich and decadent delicacy from so many black cultures worldwide. So once your oxtail is nice and browned, you want to add your tomato paste or fresh tomatoes. Regarding oxtail, as far as myself in Southern African/Zimbabwean culture, when an animal is slaughtered for consumption, we do not throw away any inch of that animal. Every single pot is essentially used. This has led to making use of an ingredient such as an oxtail and passing that down from generation to generation as a beautiful cultural delicacy. Going back to the recipe, so once I've done browning my meat, I added water and cornstarch into the mix. This is purely to lock in all the flavors, so my meat can fully marinate in its own juices until it's perfectly done. Cooking time takes about an hour and a half to 2 hours. And here we go, these are my potatoes to make my mashed potato and also my potato slices. Another fun fact about oxtail and culture is when enslaved Africans were taken across the Atlantic during the 17th century slave trade, a lot of our ancestors were actually given scraps or the pieces of the animal which were considered non-desirable for consumption to eat. These amazing enslaved people found a way to make absolute delicacies out of these pieces of meat, birthing what is known as now the oxtail. Now, there's many different ways to make this recipe. If you go to the West Indies, you'll find a different way that they do it. If you go to West Africa, you find a different way that they do it as well. Overall, it ties us all as one people globally. Now, though I am Zimbabwean and plantain is not a cultural staple in my diet, I wanted to use this as an ingredient for this recipe because it is something I do value is used in West African cuisine along with oxtail and also in West African cuisine to make an oxtail recipe. So I wanted to use something that binds so many different cultures together. So here's my mashed potato. I'm adding butter and a bit of salt before I mash it, and I'm adding some mascarpone cheese as well. This just creates a nice creamy texture to it. I know some people might want to use cream or milk, but I'd advise you try mascarpone cheese. It is amazing. Here we go, guys. So I normally would use butter beans, but I searched in all stores and I just could not find any form of butter beans. So I'm gonna use red kidney beans for my oxtail recipe. So this one has been boiling for about 2 hours and it's about nearly done now. So I'm gonna add some coriander because it's me, and if you know anything about my recipes, I will always use coriander. Overall, my love for oxtail transcends just a beautiful meat that tastes absolutely amazing. Oxtail is a meat that holds so much history, and if you discover or just research the background of how people came to eating it through so many different parts of the world, you will appreciate just how much of a history and story and connection it gives you to a past world that used to exist. And here is my plating guide 101. So I'm starting off by stacking my potatoes at the bottom of the plate, and then I'm going to grab my red cabbage and then I'm going to layer it on top. Once that's in, we're going to grab mashed potato, we're going to stack that on top. Now I'm going to be quite generous with my portion, so we're not holding back at all. Once I have my desired portion for the mashed potatoes, now it's time to take off my holder, and then I'm gonna start stacking my oxtail on top. Now, I must say, stacking oxtail on top of mashed potatoes looks easier than it actually is, honestly. And it wouldn't be me without a drizzle shot, so let it drizzle, baby. That's the sort of thickness you want for your oxtail sauce. And then I'm gonna start stacking my plantain on top. How about we add a little watercress for garnish? And guys, it's time to stick a fork in it because I am done and we are ready to serve. Time for me to have a bite. Guys, honestly, delicious. Oxtail is hands down one of my top 3 favorite recipes of all time. This one you simply have to try. It is that good. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this recipe guide on how to make oxtail. And always remember, every time you try a cultural dish, you are also eating a part of history and how a people survived 500, 200, 100 years ago. So appreciate all that is to do with culture and food. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys later. Bye-bye.